woman, classy, beautiful woman, mighty woman, classy, beautiful woman, mighty woman, classy, beautiful woman, mighty woman, classy, beautiful.
Good morning, kings and queens. It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, back again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. And I'm going to try to get my straps back on because they keep falling off. Here we go. How are you guys? Let me know how you guys are doing. Let me see those thumbs ups, those hearts, those happy faces. Let me know you're happy to be awake, ready to get your day started, your week started. You've had a restful weekend and you are ready to get down in the nitty gritty and get that work, right? All right, I'm going to bring on my co host so we can go ahead and get started on week 2 of Building an Empire. And I want you guys, this is interactive today. I want to hear what you guys have done. You had homework, right? All my faithfuls, y'all had homework. If y'all heard, y'all were on last week. I believe it was Friday. Gave you a bit of homework. So we're going to go through that. But first, let me go ahead and get my co host on.
On that midnight train to Georgia.
Did, you
Good
supposed
morning,
to
good
be on
morning,
that
good
midnight
morning.
train to morning tea with mommy. Are you here?
Good
That's
morning.
where you supposed to be.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh,
goodness.
look at you.
She looked in my wardrobe. She
Look
peeked in
at
my window.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Look at you looking
How
at
is
me looking
that?
like me.
How is that? Now we're talking part two, building an empire and putting in the work today. Hey, but look, how about this? How about this? How about this? Think about this. Great minds think
Think
alike.
alike. Hey.
Profound. Yes. Great minds think alike. And you know what? I am pumped up from last night's concert with the OG, with my
They made me cry, y'all.
OG.
They made me cry.
Oh my goodness.
They made me
Yes,
cry.
I got teary eyed too, particularly when they brought Dion on. Because
That was when music was beautiful.
I had just said, where is Dion? And boom, you know, that was amazing.
Yo. And then
And
sang my favorite
for you
song.
younguns out there, you should have picked up some tips of how to act, how not act, but how to be. You know what I'm saying? When you're secure in your gift, in your talent, in what you are doing, you don't have to outshine nobody because your light will shine for
Yeah.
itself.
Mm.
And good, bad, or indifferent. And I know the first thing folk was saying, oh, well, she didn't know the words and da 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 da. Look, my honey, but let me
Let
tell
me
you
tell you,
something,
when
honey,
you
but
kick out that many hits, yo, you don't need to know
look,
your own words.
for real, for
You
real,
don't
for
need to
real.
know your own word. By that time, everybody's singing it for
Hey,
you anyway.
how about that? And I've seen all of them perform live, and I'm telling you, they are definitely divas in their own right. Each one of them. And Dion, 80 years old, come November, I believe. No, January. 80 years
That's
old. No,
amazing.
80 years young. Hey, and you
Amazing.
know what? Think about it. Her her relatives, Whitney and Whitney's daughter, they gone on. And
Wait a minute, hold on, Vanita, I'm gonna need you to go back and watch the replay. So she said she all hold up in H Town, in Hagerstown, so she don't know what's going on. So they do this thing called verses, right? They've been doing it for the last couple of months since we've been on the pandemic, where they'll
mm,
take a they'll take two singers or whatever, and put them together, and they start playing all their greatest hits, and they go,
mm,
back and forth, or whatever.
right,
And it's supposed to be like that person versus that person, but
right.
yo,
But
when the legends come out,
you know what I'm
they show
saying?
you how you do it, right?
Hey, and all of the
Yesterday was
greats,
amazing.
all of the now greats, Missy Elliott, and they were just coming out, pumping out, and I love the way they were just supportive. They were just shouting out because I mean, what can you
Yo, they
say?
had 500,000 viewers, man.
Yes, I mean,
Like
what can
people
you say?
recognize that music. That's when music was pure. That's
Oh
when
yes,
music
yes, yes,
was
yes. And it reminded, and I could not
like
help but
you
remember
it
my
brought so much
12.
peace, man.
Yes, yes, yes. I loved it. I loved it. You know what? Yesterday was, oh, and by the way, happy Grandparents' Day. I posted, happy
No,
Grandmother's Day.
let
I
me
made
tell
it
you.
a little more
Let me
personal,
tell you the shade she threw.
but it's okay
Look,
because
we was talking about aunties, Auntie Patty and Auntie.
that's right. Those are
Let me
my
tell you the
girls. Let
shade
me
she
tell
threw.
you,
Right?
I knew
She
Patty when
posted.
she look. I knew Patty when she came over the rainbow with the
That's
bluebells.
cool. Y'all
Patty
said y'all share the
LaBelle,
same shade. Let me tell you
yeah,
about how Auntie Patty did. Now she
hey,
she
Patty
loved
is
Auntie
Patty.
Gladys, but let me tell you about what Auntie Patty did. She kept breaking out that mirror, checking herself. But this one right here for Grandparents' Day, she did put a post and she said Happy Grandmother's Day. Like she just
Oh,
wiped out everybody else from
I'm not a
existence. It was
grandfather.
like grandpas
Keep
don't
it
exist.
personal. Keep it real. Keep it real. Lock it
She
in.
done wished her own self
Lock
a
it
Happy
in.
Grandmama's Day. I know that's right.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm telling you, you
Maggie,
know what?
love you
That
too,
was a
boo.
perfect grandparents celebration was to see my sisters. I tell you, Dion, Patty, Gladys. Oh my goodness. It gave me life. It gave me hope. You know, it gave me hope. It
Those are
really did.
goals for me to be able to hit those notes sitting down with my legs crossed.
Yes,
Those
it
are
made me
goals for
want to
me
go
as
back.
an artist, man.
I told my housemate, I said, look, run get my mic. Run get my mic.
I woke the whole house up. The house couldn't sleep. I was in the living room. And so we music all day. So we got the sound system that don't belong in your living room. First of all, we have a movie room. So why there's a sound system like that in our living room is beyond me. But ask Johnny. So I literally woke the whole house up. They couldn't sleep. I
Hey,
probably woke half the neighborhood up
yeah.
because I was in
Aside
there jamming.
aside from the little animals in my forest around me, and Latif was cool.
Oh, he was
Latif
in
was
there. He
cool. He
was in
had a
there
couple of
tearing up.
times.
That was history right there. But
I tell you,
let's get back into it. Let's get back into it because it should be motivation about
yes,
you
yes.
know
Well, it fits right in with
seeing the
where we're.
fruits of your labor. When you put in that work, when you put
Yes.
in that work, that's what it looks like. When you get to
Mm,
sit back and just enjoy, and you do it because you love it. You know what I'm saying? You do it for
that's
the
the
love of
thing.
it. You do it for the
That's
love
the
of it.
thing. Made me want to go back into the studio and record and record and record. I tell you, that gives me life. It gives me life. Let me share with you before I get cut off. Let me share with you my confidence card
Shady.
for the day. Check this out. Abundance flows freely to me, and I remain ready and open to receive new adventures. How about that? When we're talking about empires and building an empire and doing what you do, there's only one you. So be the best you that you can be.
Absolutely.
Put the work in. Yes.
Absolutely. You got to put the work in. And
Gotta
and
put
this
the
is the
work in.
thing, right? I've been I've been dope artists support other dope artists. So I've been traveling virtually supporting other dope people.
She
And
does. She does.
I've gotten a couple of some nice tidbits. We all are supposed to learn from each other, right? That's what it's about. You don't take your information and just tuck it in your pocket and
Right.
be like, I got mine, you get yours. So I've been gaining some wisdom. I've been gaining some knowledge, and just information in general by supporting other dope people. And so, one of the things that I hold true to, in regards to building my empire, and securing the bag at the same time, I love what I do. I love
Number one.
what I do.
Number one. That's
and
key.
and I recognize the purpose in which is why I do it. The purpose
Mm,
for me doing it, I recognize that purpose. So everything that I encounter, every job, every career that I have that is geared towards building up the love of what I do, which is purpose for others and not me, I love it. Even when I don't like it. Um, I've heard so many people, several people, we've talked on this show about doing certain things, holding certain jobs that you may not necessarily like. It may not be your cup of tea. However, it can be utilized to fund what it really is that God has instilled in you. Or you may be there to get some knowledge that is necessary to be able to effectively be a boss. There's some things that you have to go through, some things that you have to endure, some things that you actually have to do so that you can respect the position. You have to know what it feels like to be an employee so that you can be an effective supervisor, an effective boss or owner. That way, you'll know how to take care of your own employees. And so I look back at some of the professions. My mother, she's talked about it. And let me be clear, every last one of the jobs I've held were professions, like things that I actually dug into, mastered, was at the top of my game. Which with each position that I held, right? And so, when it was, I always wanted to hold on. I always wanted to hold on because I was like, yo, this is a career, like this, you don't just leave a career. And God said, no, not so. That's not why I had you here. This is a part of the ministry that I have you connected to. And so when I say it's time to move, or I'll have to move you. And when I move you, it may not feel so good, especially when you're not ready to move. So
Mm.
I had to feel that. I had to feel that a couple of times before I got it. And I was like, I saw him coming. I was like, all right, God, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Grab all my little knowledge, put it in my little bag, my little suitcase, and bid them adieu, and kept it moving. And
Mm.
so, for that purpose only, for that reason alone, is why I've held some of the careers that I've held, because there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture that God wanted me to see, that He had for my life. And for me, I was purposed. I was purposed to be a leader, but I had to understand what it felt like to be a good follower under good leadership and bad leadership, so that I could be the most effective leader that God purposed for me to be. So I held these positions. And then along with that, there were things that I had to learn, things that I had to put into work. It was rigorous. You know how you walk past the supervisor office and it seemed like they ain't doing nothing. It seemed like they ain't never doing nothing, right? Because it's just like everybody else doing it for them. And so when I held my very last corporate position, which is as a CFO, I sat in my office, my big old office by myself, got my own office, own building, only 3 people located in the building, which was the head office, which only housed the CEO, the COO, and the CFO, which was me, right? So I'm sitting in my office, and I'm looking around, and when I found myself becoming idle, I call to remembrance those times when I would walk past the supervisor's office. And I was like, La, get on, like, find something to do. Find something to do. And even though, people don't come to our office often, and they're not allowed to come and talk to the CFO unless it's something serious, right?
Being brought on the carpet.
Right. We usually just phone it. What I'm saying? Nobody gets to see me. I'm like the great and powerful Oz, but not really. You know, Even with that, I find myself bringing myself back, to reality. Like, let's get that work. Like, there should never be idle time. There should never be idle space. I should
Okay.
always be putting in work. I should always be looking around and looking at programs that aren't, to see what I can make happen, what I can create. Because it's all a part of the process. It's not about me. It's about what God has me, where He has me positioned, for His
Mm.
children, for His
Mm.
people. And when I understand that there are other people that are positioned in strategic places as well, like we've talked in the past, for me to gain the knowledge that I need to be able to allow me the stepping stools to get to the levels that I need to get on, then it becomes very serious for me to stand in position and always put in the work. I should always be looking at ways to be better than I was yesterday. That's my competition. My versus is Lala versus Lahla-Hadiya. Like, that's my competition. I'm always comparing myself to myself, to see if I'm the best. If today's Lala is better than yesterday's Lala. And so, it requires, when you're building that empire, to put in that work. Don't ever get to the point where you become idle. If you find yourself just chilling, then you need to get up, get out, and get something. Like, it's time for you to buckle back down. There is going to be a point for that. There's going to be a place and time for that. But now, especially right now, I don't believe, in my spirit, in my heart of hearts, I do not believe that this is the season for us to rest. If any season, this season right here, this season is not for us to rest. This season is for us to put in the work. Those people who have the knowledge, find out what programs that you can create, what programs you can fund if you have the capital, what programs you can share your wisdom and your expertise so that it can get done. And so I must say this, right? In my travels virtually, I'm pretty much cool with what I take in. I've been hearing some awesome and wonderful things in regards to entrepreneurship, which is crazy, because but necessary. Almost every person that I've encountered virtually in their podcasts and just little chats, they've been talking about entrepreneurship. They've been talking about securing a bag. They've been talking about making your passion turn into profit. They've been talking about building an empire. You know, and so which is crazy, but not. Because God isn't mysterious when you know him, when you're close to him, when you know him, you're learning him. And so it's not crazy, but it's crazy to see it. It's like, wow, people are getting it. One of the things, and I know my mom had her finger up, one of the things that I wanted to share was this. My dad used to always say, a jack of all trades, master of none, right? And my mom used to say that to me even after his passing, making sure that whatever I dug my nails down into, that I went all the way to the core, and didn't just scrape the surface. Whatever I was a part of, I was to master that thing, right? And so that's my mindset. That's automatic for me, right? It's a no-brainer for me. Anything that I have my hands on, I'm holding on to it until I reach the core, because I want to know how you work so that I can effectively operate in it, right? And use it to my advantage, because it may be necessary to fuel something else that I'm about to get into. And so as a result, I have created multiple streams of income for myself, my family as well. My husband and I, we've created multiple streams of income. And so I made a statement yesterday, and I wanted to say it aloud to my Morning Tea with Mommy family, because don't get me wrong. I understand that in this society, it takes money to survive. I understand that, because with the money, you have to purchase certain things. Your family has to eat, lights have to stay on, bills have to be paid, gas has to be in the car. I understand that. My view has always been this: if I'm obedient to what God wants for me to do, and I move when he says move, and I enter into the spaces where he says enter in, he will provide the increase. He'll provide the increase by giving me knowledge to what I need to do to get the funding that I'm worth, right? And then he'll also provide me the expertise and the wisdom to be able to create some things, to create extra income, or even more income, to provide me with the compensation for what I'm worth. And so I never worry about that. I never worry about that. And I know it's easier said than done, but we've been in some dark days. My family has seen some hot dogs and bologna sandwich days for dinner. We've seen that. But I understand the process. I get that there is a process and I understand the process. And I'm willing to put in the sacrifice because I also see the light at the end of that tunnel that leads to another tunnel, right? That has a whole nother process. So for me, it's never been whether I'm going to be compensated for the thing that I'm doing. It's always been being obedient to the call because God always provides. And that providing is not always money. It's not always money. There have been times when people have given my family things. They've gifted things to my family. They've gifted us computers, like legit computers, you know. So it wasn't even a thing of, oh, I needed to make this money because I need this computer to find. Like, there were things that were being gifted just out of love, like people standing in their positions, being that light, being that source, allowing us to see the tools that God has laid out for us because He's poured out blessings that are so much for others to receive that they start spilling on other people. And so I understand that. And whereas, you know, we speak a lot about securing the bag, for me, securing the bag is not always monetary for me. It's not always monetary because things that are of worth are not always money. And so securing the bag is getting all of those worth jewels. Those this is worth it. All these worth it jewels. It may be money here. It may be wisdom here. It may be people here. It may be material things here. It may just even be inner peace. But securing the bag for my family, because all of those things play a part in success. All of those things play a part for me, rather, in success and my family. And that is a portion of how I am instrumental in building the empire. Because I certainly don't want my children to think it's always about making their money. I certainly don't want them to think that and that be the mindset and that be the goal every time they attack a situation in life is, yo, I'm just trying to make that money. I'm trying to make that money because you can gain all the riches in the world and literally lose your soul. And so it has to be a balance. So there are streams of income that I've created so that I can fund other streams of income so that I am able to tithe off my gift. Because every profession that I hold is my gift. It's connected to my gift. And I'm able to tithe off my gift. Every year I tithe with my voice because that's my gift. Every year I tithe with my talent because that's my gift. And every year I tithe with my time. And it's certain portions of the year. You know, God don't just ask you to tithe once a year. You know, it's certain portions of the year where I bring all my tithes into the storehouse. So there will be meat in my house, in my house. And so I just wanted to say that just so that you guys know my stance on what it means to secure the bag. But my mama had her finger up for the longest time. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pass the mic. You got a mic over there. I don't get my mic up.
Four score and 7 years ago, I had a few things to piggyback on, but the piggy ran away with those thoughts.
I'm sorry, man. I had things to say. I had to get it out.
I love Hoppo. God knows I do.
I look. Let me tell you, when y'all get me started, it's a
Love
wrap.
it. You know what?
I
You know
jump
what
in when
though?
y'all
For
finish.
real, for real, for real. Keeping it real. This gives me pleasure because it assures me that my legacy will live on. I am so serious when I say this. As we're talking about building an empire and putting in the work, I put in the work years ago, even when I was in the middle of my Israel experience in the desert, when I, was going through so many things and I had no clue what the end would be. But one thing I realized through all of this was that with my creator in the center of all of that, I knew that it would come out in my behalf, and it did, and it does. And I say that to say, this is what this is all about. Building your empire We're putting in the work, and putting in the work means you're planting seeds as well as, whatever you're doing. One thing I learned years ago from my diva of administration was you never ever uh, find yourself in the hallway or outside your cubicle or outside your office as the CEO. You never find yourself out without a pen and paper or a clipboard or a book or something, some resource to enrich your staff, and you empower your staff to do what you do so that you don't have to be, what they call micro managing. You don't have to, and I've seen, a lot of situations. I've been in situations where the admin was, like this all the time. And it's hard to get the quality work from your employees when you're like this, because people shut down. They shut down. So as a leader, as a CEO or the head of your company, your empire, your whatever it is your business is, you empower. Never never forget that the more you empower, the more you put into the people who are working with you, the more productive your business will be. I learned that one of the same administrator whom I adore, rest in peace, Dr. Rita Robinson. I remember so many times, when I would attend conferences. At one point, I had more ID badges with her name on it because she allowed me to attend different conferences or meetings, in her behalf. And therefore, I was able to glean from those meetings stuff that, I didn't think I was ready for at the time, but it prepared me. And I learned later on, as years passed, that it worked in my behalf. You see, it's not man who elevates you, who qualifies you. It's God. No matter, with all the degrees that I do have, it's God who allows me to do whatever, whatever I choose to do. He has given me that empowerment. And we have to realize that we have to walk in our purposes. The Lala usually says towards the end of our broadcast, we have to walk in we have to walk purposely, do things intentionally, do the right thing intentionally. And even as the late great John Lewis would say, if you're getting in trouble, make it good trouble. Make it good trouble. And that's become a part of me this side of my life since John Lewis is realizing, there is such thing as good trouble. Everything is not going to be hunky dory. Everything is not going to be, a piece of cake. But one thing you do know is it can work, it will work if you put in the work, if you do what you're supposed to, and never cease to remember the source of your strength. Never cease to remember who's really in charge,
Yeah.
who's really the head honcho. The message yesterday, our pastor, New Bethel Baptist Church, whoop whoop,
Hey.
uh, Reverend Nuttall, mentioned he was in the book of Samuel and has mentioned how the people wanted, after everything that God had done, brought them out of Israel, through the desert, through the storm and the everything, the flood, and they still doubted him. They still wanted something they could see. They wanted an earthly king. They didn't want the spiritual. They wanted the earthly king. Goes back to, white man's ice is colder. Ice is ice. But when you got the spiritual thing, when you've got the creator working in your behalf, who can go wrong? Who can go wrong? And so, but you've got to work. You got to put in the work. You know, Faith without works is what? It's
Dead,
dead.
dead
It's for naught.
thinking.
So you've got to put in the work. You've got to do what you do. Be the best you that you can be. There's only one you. Nobody can duplicate you. They can attempt, They can watch you and try to, mimic your moves and whatever. You can kill the dreamer, but you cannot kill the dream. So when you work towards whatever your gift, talent are, you can't do anything. There's only one way, and that's going upwards. That is building that empire that you have dreamed of, the goals that you have set for yourself. And we've talked about setting those short term goals and the long term goals. Very important. Very important. All things work together for the good of them who love the Lord. The messages, and I usually uh, participate or watch multi messages on Sunday. And all of the messages, I'm gonna tell you, all things do work together because each of the messages, even coming from different scriptures, they came together. The focal point of those messages, you know, was, we've got to, and the thing now is working towards uh, the new administration. And I really wondered when my pastor started out. All this, his sermon was geared towards you know how we relate the politics to the Bible, to God's word. And I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, okay, you know what? You got one there. I want to see. I'm sitting at the front row like Celie, watching the pot boil. I'm sitting there like, how he gonna do this? But I'm gonna tell you, that little man, that little big man, my pastor,
Pastor D.
Pastor D, I'm gonna tell you, he hooked it up. He hooked it up. And you know what it showed me? That things, God is the same today as was yesterday. He ain't changed. We've changed, but he has not changed.
Absolutely.
So all of the things that he did for the people during that time when they were going, you talk about going through struggles. You talk about Paul and Silas being, caught up, and that's the other thing. Paul and Silas caught up in, this place where, they were supposedly chained and locked up, and in the middle of them, they start in the middle of everything, they start singing a song. You can't tell me all things don't work together. And then lo and behold, here's Patty and Gladys and Dion singing songs together, coming together. We've got to be confident enough to work the business, to do what we do, to incorporate people and resources that will complement our
Yes.
business
Yes.
and keep it moving. Stop, getting caught up in, oh, I don't want them to steal nothing. I don't want them to take what I have. I don't want, no, I can't do it so much with them. I can't share this because they're gonna take it and run with it and do, so what? There'll never be another you. And that's something we have to keep in mind. We really do. All these years, I keep that in mind. I have always tapped into, and God has put me in places to get whatever it is I needed to do what I needed to do. I was born to teach. I was born to be an educator. I was born to encourage people, and that's what I do. That's what I do. And so as I've gone along the way, when I think about it, and it's not about the degrees. It's not about the titles. It's not about any of that. It's not about how many colleges or what college you went to or what fraternity or sorority you in. It ain't even about that.
Right.
It's only what you do for Christ. And such as you do to the least of these,
You do
you
also.
do also unto him. So keeping that in mind as we're building our empire, as we're putting in the work, just keep in mind that don't be afraid, because when God is in it, you don't have to worry about somebody stealing whatever it is you have or singing your song
Yeah,
or
I told y'all
getting,
last week I have a song. Look, they go even on my worst days. You can never be me.
yeah,
God purposed me
she's
to
writing all the
be
time.
me. He purposed me to be me. So even on my worst day, You could never
Mm.
be me. Even on your
Yeah,
worst day, there is
yeah.
nobody, absolutely nobody that could be
Nobody,
you.
nobody.
Period.
Wasn't there a song?
Period.
Nobody,
You hold the
nobody,
antidote
nobody.
and the
Absolutely.
special ingredient to make something
Yes,
as unique as it's going to be. So I
yes.
don't care if, like, last night was a perfect example, right? They both were talking, and there were songs that they were singing that Patty was like, and I remember, and you did that song, and then I did that song. And it
They
was
work
songs that both
together.
of them did together, but that
A
song was
lot of
hot
stuff.
when Gladys did it, and the song was hot when Patty did it, because when Patty did it, it was that was
You're
Patty's
giving me
signature.
chills. You're giving me
When
chills. When
Gladys
I
did it,
think,
that was Gladys's signature. So
yes,
even when Gladys did it, she could never be Patty, and Patty could never be her.
could
And
never be.
it wasn't necessary for that to happen, because God purposed Patty
Absolutely.
LaBelle to do it
And
Patty's
here's the
way.
thing too. Here's the thing
Period.
with Patty. And like I said, a lot of haters. I'm certain. Oh, she didn't know the words. She didn't. You know what? If she doesn't ever sing another song,
No,
she doesn't have to prove Patty. Doesn't have
not
to
at
prove
all. Not
herself.
at all.
She don't have to prove herself. Guess what? Because the gift that God gave her, nobody can take that from her. They can't take that from her. And I so admire. Notice how they worked even on that setting. They were working together. I love both of them. Both of them. The manner in which Gladys, the times, when Patty, was saying, and she was on it, couldn't think of the words, and she would just chime in, and Gladys, and they just worked together. All things work
That
together
was
for the good
royalty
of
at
them
its
who love
best,
the
man.
Lord.
That's an empire.
Yes,
That's an
I
empire
tell
that
you,
was built.
that last night was a jewel. It
Yeah,
was a nugget, and I so admire the artists who were coming in, posting such positive things, because a real artist, recognized the fact that it was on their shoulders, those ladies' shoulders, that they stand. You know, and it's hard to recreate. You can cover songs, you can do similar things, and beats or whatever, but it's hard to there's never going to be, you can't remake what's already been made. It's like Columbus discovering a place that was already discovered. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing, the only concern I have, not concern, but I would like that the way the originators of this platform have it, versus, I would use another word, because they're not usually, versus is like you're
well, that's,
competing with
you know
each
what,
other.
I beg to
Oh,
differ I beg
I
to
understand.
differ only because of last night. Last
Hmm.
night was the perfect example of what a competition should look like, because
I was
you're
getting
not
ready to say,
competing against the other person.
I agree.
You're
I
not.
agree.
Like, when I'm in a
You know what, Pastor?
competition, like I used to tell, I told y'all a couple of episodes ago, when my youngest son used to go and compete in taekwondo fights and tournaments. I said, you competing with yourself. You're not
Yes,
competing with
yes.
that dude. You
No, but
competing with yourself.
that's heavy.
And
That's
that's
heavy.
what you saw last night. And when you
Exactly.
do that, it becomes harmony. Like, yo, it's like a work of art. And when you really think about what martial arts looks like, it's basically an art, a form of art. So if you're competing with yourself, they're competing with themselves. Your movements are working in harmony, where the viewer's like, yeah, like every kick, every turn,
I
every
agree.
twist, you
I
know.
agree.
So
I
last
get. I
night
get.
was, even, I know they probably didn't think that that's what it was gonna look like,
Because they're old school.
but it says a lot. Like, those, like, they
It
knew, the
did.
queen, that, look,
It
Auntie
did.
Patty and Auntie Gladys knew what it looked like.
Hey,
So they gave you
look here.
in real
Look here.
time the definition of what competition
What
should
it
look
should
like.
look like. I agree. I get that. You know what? That's thought. That's food for thought, because I get that. And that's what, back in the day, the singers, the songs even had a message. They told a story. It was like, wasn't putting anybody down. Even it was funny, because Lady Marmalade and Patty said, she said, "Girl, we ain't know what we were singing until somebody somebody, we knew it was French, but we didn't know that it was like talking about a hooker, or and stuff like that." But she, and
So let me tell
Gladys,
all y'all,
but that
voulez-vous
was, but
coucher
but
avec
that
moi? Because I
but
took
this,
French for 7 years.
but that
It
was
means
business.
come with me to my house tonight. They just used it in a
Yes,
movie that was hooker ish, but that's what that
exactly.
means.
But see, and this was the thing, and Gladys, I had to chuckle because she said, "Yeah, but that was business. They were doing what they do. That's what they did to survive, even hookers or whatever." But it, made a joke. But it was really that. You're so right. You're so right. That was what um competing, and it wasn't really competing. It was like presenting your talents, presenting the best of you. This is what, and their thing was, when you go way back and think about, and I know for me it was such a solemn moment, although I was up dancing most of the time, and and doing my thing. I couldn't help but think about back in the day, because all of the songs, I could have written my book last night, because those
Or
songs,
dang, I wish I had told me I'd have dropped off
telling
some paper.
you, now you know what to do. Hey, look, because those
I'd have
songs,
Amazon Prime some paper to you.
for every song, there was a story.
Yeah,
Like Midnight Train to Georgia, I remember that. I remember Boyfriends, where like
good
you
boy
had that sentimental, yes, some.
with an S.
Let me stop. Let
You
me
know,
stop.
light
But
skin. Like,
every song,
let me
every
stop before I
song
start
had
something.
a story for me, had a story to tell, really, really. And back in the day, and I was so tempted to call some of my buddies, some of my friends, some of my, circle, and say, like, hey, it was really phenomenal. Last night was phenomenal. I give kudos and props to those guys that put that thing together. I'm telling you, Michelle Obama was, hey,
So
tapped
everybody
in.
was in the building.
Jilly from Philly, of course. All these people who we rever. But one thing is for sure, and they made that clear. And if you missed it, you missed it. That they realized, those artists realized, that was a gift. Those talents that they were putting out in the music business was a gift. It was a gift. There's only one Patty, there's only one Gladys, and there's certainly only one Dion. And I remember way back with Burt Bacharach and all of the musicians that used to be a part of those platforms, and they still stand.
And
They
like my mom
still
said,
stand.
each one of them have their own story because it
Yeah,
take and it
and they
they
each
put
been
in the
through it.
work. They put in the work to get where they are
Absolutely.
today. And when you
Absolutely.
do that, that
Put in
is better than any paycheck that you could
any
ever get.
paycheck, any
That's better
paycheck.
than any paycheck you could ever receive.
Right. I
When
remember
you put
being
in the
so
work
sad.
and you're obedient to the call, because
Absolutely.
that was a ministry and people used to talk. I remember, during my era when I was learning about them, like we would just sing and dance to the songs, but just hearing the talk, when people were saying, Patty don't ever sing gospel, she ain't singing no gospel,
Oh, look,
but
you know
that
what?
was Patty's
Let me tell
ministry.
you
Like,
something.
and singing gospel like don't have nothing to do with you following the will of God, because
Hmm.
everybody ain't in the gospel arena. So
Hmm.
if he
The thing
wants
is
people
about
to be
touching lives,
reached, then some
touching.
people can't
Yeah,
be in the gospel arena. Some people
absolutely.
can't be in the physical church building. Some people can't be there. Some people gotta go to the gutters. Some people gotta
And
go to the valleys. Some
and the
people gotta
song
go to
that
the
may
strip clubs.
be the
Some people
only
gotta go to the
church
bars.
that they will see. And let me tell you something else. And knowing a part of Patty's history, both all of their history, I remember when Patty lost sisters, she lost mothers, she lost, I want to say, two of her sisters to cancer. I remember so well when, and it went really hard with her. But to continue to perform, to continue to use that gift, and that she even mentioned that at one point, one of the songs that she came out with, she left a funeral for one of her relatives, and went right onto the stage, had to go and perform. And she said that was in fact, she was recording, and that was the hardest thing, which I can imagine, to do that, with your heart is already heavy, and you got to go before people to do what you do. That's her job. That was her job. And so she had to do that according to contract. But the thing of it with that, again, it's a classic example of putting in the work. Neither of them could have done what they do without putting in the work and the gifts that God gave them. Instead of keeping it under a bushel, they they use those talents, they use those gifts, and many people have been gratified. Many people have been, as La said, the gospel is in your heart. It should, you know people were touched, have been touched, and still being touched by the music. I remember several, like, weddings and funerals where those songs, I even thought about a song that La, in her early, I think I was doing parson planning at that time, and La did, what's the song? You are my superwoman,
Superwoman.
or
It's called
I'm your
Superwoman.
superwoman. Yeah, superwoman.
Early in the morning, I put
When she
breakfast
said, when they
at
did
your
that one, I'm like,
table. That
oh
was my
my
joint.
God. Latif and I both were like, oh my goodness. Every time,
Yeah,
every minute of the
the
day,
whole neighborhood heard me last night.
La was singing that song. Oh my goodness. And one of my end of the summer performance, I used to do a showcase every at the end of the summer, and she did that song, and she wowed that song. I think she was only what, fifth grade, fourth grade,
I,
but she
I
did that
was fourth
song.
grade.
So it's, all of this is not for naught. It's There's a purpose, there's a reason that we are doing what we do. I had someone on yesterday. I'm in the middle of one of the services that I was attending virtually, and I got a text from a bishop who's over in Kenya, one of the groups that I'm affiliated with, um, and asking for, well, he was very cordial. How are you? How's the family? Blah, blah, blah. And I knew anytime I get, and sorry to say, when I get a message from certain people, I know that is for some reason. And surely enough, he asked for, if I was able, and I could appreciate that. He said, if I was able to send a contribution to their ministry. And I said, I am very dubious about sending things, monies, you know, overseas or to other countries. I said, however, let me look at the situation, and I will, send something. I can't guarantee what or how much, but I will send something, because that's what I do. That's my ministry, is missions. And so, but, and I know that people are needing, not just here in America, but in other countries. People are suffering. We're at an all times low, and we have to be, even no matter how little we have, we have to be able to reach out and share with others. So that's another point that I want to reiterate, and that is, in all of our building of this great empire, let's not forget that we have to also reach out. Not only are our gifts for others, it's for us to share and spread around, but also, monetary and otherwise, just like tithes. Tithes are not just, putting in that plate on Sunday, or, monies. Tithes, what? Your offerings, your time, your talents, as well. So we have to be mindful of that. When you reach out to others, believe me, I'm a witness. I'm a witness. Even in my Israel moment, when you reach out and extend to others, it comes back to you. It really does. I'm a true witness of that. So, in our building and putting in the work, just be mindful of that. We have to be able in times like these and not times like these. We have to, and I really believe we've talked about this many times. I really believe that's what this is about. God is like wanting us. It's like it's the last minutes of the football game where he's really, wanting us to get that touchdown, wanting us to get those field goals. And the field goals and the touchdowns are in the form of us reaching out and pulling in others, not just our biological family, the family he placed us in, but a family around us. And the Bible asks, who is your neighbor? Ask yourself that question. Who is your
That song,
neighbor?
who are the people in your neighborhood?
Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers hit on a
It's the
point, didn't
people
he?
that you meet when you're walking down the street. It's the people that you meet each
Oh, I
day.
should remember that.
I
Oh my
do.
gosh.
I do.
We have an inside joke of law, y'all.
Yo,
Maybe
they
I'll
deprived
save
me of
that
my
for
nursery rhymes. We ain't gonna
maybe
get
I'll
into that. That's
save that
another.
for
That's
Friday.
another show.
I'll save it for Friday.
It's another show.
Oh, this is some good stuff. I'm enjoying myself. Y'all enjoying yourself?
I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah,
It's
I
and
am.
it's
I
necessary though,
can't get
guys,
over the
because
fact
it's
she
about
he's
working
an award
together,
show. I
man.
can't get over that.
What you say? You can't get over what?
I can't get over the fact that how. But then it's no accident how God works things. You know what I'm saying? Great minds think alike, really. And
Are you
and
still
we
talking
had
about how you
no
dress like
clue.
me?
She dressed like me,
I can't get
and
my
saying
strap
she
right.
dressed like me. Look at her.
You dress
Look at
because
her.
my it's all out, man. This stuff right here.
Those are my undergrad colors, college colors,
Oh,
gold and black. Yeah,
I
the
went to
mighty
WU. You
VCU
ain't,
wasn't a HBCU, but that was
Marilyn, you ain't with
that was
nothing
my
like
stomping
this.
ground. Yeah. hmm
But I
I
mean,
made a
and
dent.
that's what it's about, guys. When I say putting in the work, and then
Absolutely.
and you have to you have to do the labor. You have
You
to do
really
the labor,
do. You really do.
and in labor, there are um, there's some growing pains. Like I don't want to have to break down what labor is for all the
Please,
women on here.
please break it
Just
down.
pick a king on here and tell them what labor is. But there are some
Your
growing.
labor is law.
There's some. Trust me, I know. There are some growing pains
Oh, tell us what
in
labor is.
labor, and because there's some growth that has to happen in order
Yes, it
for
is.
things to come into existence. There's some growth
You know what?
that has
And
to happen.
and Tiffany,
There's some stretching of us that God has to do
wow.
in order for those things that He's
Exactly.
instilled in us to come
Yes.
into existence. And
Yes.
sometimes in that stretch, there's some pains, and so we have to understand that and welcome that, because there's an abundance of joy after that. Right?
And right. And don't focus on the pain. Focus on the pleasure. I just came up with that. But listen, a case example. I was going to save this till Friday, but I think I'll share it now. Once upon a time, in one of La's labors, in fact, a couple of her labors of childbirth,
Over me,
um,
Lord Jesus.
for some reason, whatever the epidural and those things that they give you for the mother
It
for
didn't
pain,
work. Don't sugarcoat it.
it
None of
it
it
didn't
worked.
work. But
I don't even
look,
think they
here's the
gave it
thing.
to me.
But check this out. Check this out. There was this. I remember more specifically, not Lovey, but must have been La Janae.
When Johnny
And
turned off the machine,
yes, and I
you about
wasn't
to
even
ruin
going to
his
tell. I
morning.
wasn't even going to tell that part.
You about
What
to
I
ruin
was
his
going to
morning
hit
because
at
you don't put that
was
back in my mind.
Johnny inadvertently turned off the machine, so there was no pain stuff coming through. But La was and so she was going through these
Hold on,
pains.
wait a
Da, da,
minute.
da, da, da.
Let me make it live
And
for some of
what?
you females. Hold on, before you finish, let me make it live for you. Not only did he turn off the machine, but I wasn't dilating fast enough, so they had turned up the pitocin so that my contractions were like
Right.
at their max, and then
Right.
he turned off the machine.
Right. But through it all, now
I learned to
after
lean
the
on
fact,
Jesus.
and baby came, praise God, you know, in good health and all of that. The point is, even without that mechanism working as it should have been working, things happen. The doctor came in, and I'll always remember this moment when, he would come
He had
in
a nerve to be in the
periodically.
building, gonna put his googly eyes. Yes, you turned off the machine.
He would come in periodically, but he was so calm. He was so cool. And at the point, it was like he knew what he was doing. He came in and he just put his hands out, and there she was. She just popped out. It's like knowing the right moment, and that's the way God is. You can get right to the edge of your disaster or your whatever it is that's attacking you. And right at the moment, may not come when you want him, but he's always on time.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the moment of impact, the doctor just held out his hands. And you know what? Oh my goodness, I'm getting chills because that's the way God
You
is.
getting chills? I
I'm
had to feel it.
chills. Whew.
Getting
I
chills.
am so serious. I
And the
am so
thing is this
serious.
though, even with labor, it's amazing that we're using this analogy because there are breathing techniques that they teach you, right?
Hmm.
And if you follow those breathing techniques and you put your mind in that space to just focus on that, then the pain of the stretching of the labor itself is not as great, right?
Isn't
And
that
so,
miraculous?
even in this season of us
Yes.
putting in the work and putting work, labor, in us laboring, even
Mm,
in this
mm.
season of laboring, if you focus on the breathing, that God is telling you to focus on me. Focus on me.
When I move, you
Focus
move.
on what
When
I'm
he
telling
moves,
you.
you move.
When I breathe in, you
That,
breathe in. When I breathe out, you breathe out. Then the pain from the labor and the stretching of our
yes.
gift doesn't
You
feel
know
as
what?
great.
Even sometimes now, I practice, and you guys who've been with us, you've heard me say that for each of my children's birthdays, I get this feeling almost like pre-labor pains. It's like I'm going through my spirit is going through those
Your body
changes.
remember.
But even now, when I'm going through those dark moments, I practice that breathing. Try it, folks. I challenge you, try it. I'll breathe, take in through my nose and let it out. And I promise you, it gives me a calm. Those issues, those challenges, those would be stress factors. And I say would be because it never ever gets to that full blown point. At this side of my life, I'm so serious when I say I practice those labor techniques, of breathing. And my son, Latif, often says to not just his family members, but his friends, his circle, whenever they're going through things, and I used to wonder about even when he was in JC Smith down in Charlotte, away from home, he would ask, the first thing he would ask is, "Have you eaten?" And I'm like, huh? Usually, and he explained later, usually when people have eaten or they've, you know, you're kind of on the level, you're okay. So it makes a difference. If you've not eaten, then okay, why haven't you eaten? Okay, come on now, get with it. You got to eat. You got to take in something. And so, with thinking about the labor pains, the labor techniques, rather, the pre labor techniques and strategies of breathing, it behooves us to practice those strategies or something similar. A lot of people now doing the yoga, right? A lot of people are doing Chinese methods and all kinds of things. But have you tried God? I'm going to sit down.
So
Mm,
here's the hook right here as we end, and then I'm gonna say something because I done seen two school buses past my office door. My babies ain't going back no time soon. I don't know what they up to. Um, when you somebody said that yesterday, they the bridge, the song they debuted yesterday says, "I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. I was in the grave, but God, you brought me out." And so the hook right here, as we end, because we are at our close, is this: while you're putting in the work, focus on your breathing.
Yes.
Tools to building an empire. While you put in the work and while you're putting in the work, focus on your breathing. Focus on your breathing. That's your focus. All right. That's all I got for you. You got something, Ma?
Hey, pass the plate. Pass the plate.
What plate? The breakfast
That's
plate
it
or
right there.
what plate?
The collection, the
Oh,
offering plate.
because I ain't eat breakfast. I was hungry. Skinny fat.
Open the door of the door
I'm
of
over
the
here
church
being
is
skinny
open.
fat. I'm hungry. She
Keep in
said
mind,
plate.
there's only one door. Oh, the door of the church is open. Whosoever will, let him come.
Hey.
God bless you. You know what? I love you with the love of the Lord. You all have a blessed day. Keep it moving. Keep building. Keep reaching
Put in
out.
that work and focus
That's
on your
right.
breathing. You know I love you.
Mm,
You know Mama Lou loves you too. And most importantly, God loves us. That's why He drops these jewels of wisdom on a daily, for us all. For us all. Because
yes.
I'm not just speaking to you, God's speaking to me, through me, and through you all as well. And through my mom,
Yes.
especially those words of wisdom. Like, she ain't been in this life 70 years for nothing. So,
Mm,
yeah,
God is
it's
good.
important for us to get it because God wants us to. So until
Mm.
bright and early tomorrow morning, 7:30, it's your girl Neo Soul, recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, wrapping up another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. It's been real. It's been awesome. We are almost to the end of season 7. Yo,
Oh my
seven. I think
goodness.
each season now has like 17 episodes. That's amazing. Season 7.
Wow.
We're almost to the end, man. I'm excited.
But
I'm
God,
excited. We've been
mm,
talking a lot and talking a lot, man, a lot. It's a lot.
touching
It's a
lives.
lot in these
Yes,
episodes and
God.
these chapters that should be able to get us through and push us through when you're down and when you're feeling discouraged. So go back.
Yeah.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Go ahead and like our page. And share some of this wisdom, man. Share some of this wisdom. Share it on somebody's page. Let them see some of the comments. It's necessary. We all in this together, right? All right. Until tomorrow, 7:30, bright and early. It's your girl, Peace out.
Mighty, classy, beautiful. 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 Mighty, classy.